Sarah worked the night shift at an old, disused factory, where she often felt an eerie presence. The factory was a colossal maze of rusted machinery and abandoned production lines, and a perpetual sense of dread filled the air. One fateful night, as Sarah inspected the dusty machines, they roared to life on their own. Sparks flew, and the conveyor belts creaked to life, sending eerie vibrations through the ground. Panic set in as the assembly line produced grotesque dolls with human-like faces. These dolls were not ordinary. Their eyes were eerily lifelike, and they grinned with malevolent intent. The dolls' eyes followed Sarah's every move, and their eerie giggles filled the air, growing louder and more sinister with each passing second. She tried to escape, but the factory seemed to change, twisting itself into a nightmarish labyrinth of steel and shadows. Every direction led her deeper into the factory's dark heart. In her frantic search for an exit, Sarah stumbled upon a hidden room. The room was unlike anything she had ever seen, a grotesque laboratory filled with jars containing pickled organs and malformed creatures in various stages of creation. A table in the center held a journal detailing the gruesome experiments that took place there. The journal revealed a dark secret. The factory's previous owner had been obsessed with creating life from death, and the dolls were the failed, tormented results of his experiments. They were bound by an unholy pact to fulfill their creator's sinister wishes. As Sarah read the journal, the dolls closed in around her, their giggles turning into menacing laughter. She felt their cold porcelain hands brush against her, their lifeless eyes drilling into her soul. It became clear that they were determined to make her one of them. In sheer terror, Sarah tore the journal from its stand and, with trembling hands, began to read the incantations in reverse. The ground trembled and the factory shook as a portal to another dimension opened, pulling the cursed dolls back into the dark abyss from which they had come. With the factory now silent and still, Sarah finally found her way out. She emerged from the darkness, knowing she had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. From that night on, the haunted factory remained abandoned, a place of nightmares where the sinister dolls continued to haunt the nightmares of anyone who dared to venture near. Tom had always been skeptical of the supernatural, but his night shift at the old, abandoned asylum was about to change that. As the clock struck midnight, he patrolled the dark hallways. Strange sounds echoed, and cold drafts sent shivers down his spine. In the east wing, Tom heard faint whispers. He followed the eerie voices, which led him to a room with a cracked mirror. Its glass, once ornate, now resembled a sinister web of fractures. In its reflection, he saw the translucent figures of long-forgotten patients. They beckoned him closer, their hollow eyes filled with torment. "Help us," they pleaded in ghostly, sorrowful whispers. Terrified, Tom reached out to touch the mirror, and his hand passed through the glass, sending a chilling jolt through his body. He stumbled back, and the figures in the mirror mimicked his movement. It was as if they were trying to escape their spectral prison. The temperature in the room plummeted, and the whispers grew louder. Tom, paralyzed by fear, watched as the ghosts extended their withered hands toward him, their mouths contorted in silent screams. One of them, a woman in a tattered hospital gown, mouthed a single word: "Leave." Frantic, Tom fled the room and ran through the winding hallways, but the whispers followed him, echoing through the asylum. Every corner seemed to conceal more tormented souls, each with a story of anguish. Their presence weighed on him, like a crushing darkness that threatened to consume his very soul. As Tom finally burst out of the asylum's front doors, the whispers ceased, and the night was silent. He never returned to that place, haunted by the faces in the mirror and the tormenting voices that echoed in his mind. From that night on, he knew that there were forces beyond his understanding, lurking in the darkest corners of the world, ready to ensnare those who dared to venture into their realm. David, a cab driver on the night shift, had always believed that the supernatural was nothing more than a figment of the imagination. He was about to have his beliefs shattered during a fateful encounter that would forever haunt his memories. One gloomy night, as rain lashed against the windshield and the city's streets glistened with reflections of neon signs, David received a call to pick up a passenger from a particularly desolate part of town. As he arrived at the dimly lit street corner, a figure emerged from the shadows, drenched in a heavy rain-soaked trench coat. The passenger's face was hidden beneath a dripping, wide-brimmed hat. The man got into the cab without a word and directed David to an unfamiliar cemetery located far on the outskirts of the city. Throughout the eerie ride, the passenger's conversation grew increasingly bizarre. He spoke of lost souls and unfinished business, and he claimed to be a ghost who had been wandering the earthly realm for centuries, seeking to return to his grave. David dismissed these stories as mere ramblings, thinking the man was simply a deranged individual. As they reached the remote cemetery, David pulled up to the entrance, and the passenger instructed him to wait. The rain was relentless, and David's unease grew as he stared at the tombstones shrouded in mist. Suddenly, the passenger opened the car door and stepped out, vanishing into the darkness. Bewildered and shaken, David peered through the rain-streaked windshield, unable to see where the man had gone. Moments turned into an eternity, and David's heart raced as he realized he was alone in the desolate graveyard. He stepped out of the cab, his feet sinking into the mud. The rain-soaked ground seemed to absorb all sound, leaving an eerie silence that was broken only by the occasional distant roll of thunder. The passenger was nowhere to be seen, and David's flashlight revealed nothing but old, weathered tombstones. Just as he was about to give up the search, he heard a faint whisper in the wind, a voice that seemed to come from all directions at once. It was the voice of the passenger, now echoing around him, as he chanted an incantation in a language David could not comprehend. The raindrops seemed to freeze in midair, and David's breath turned to mist as a chill ran down his spine. Suddenly, the passenger reappeared, standing at the entrance to the cemetery. His wide-brimmed hat had fallen to the ground, revealing a ghastly, skeletal visage beneath. With an outstretched hand, he beckoned David to join him. In sheer terror, David scrambled back into the cab and sped away from the cemetery. As he glanced in the rearview mirror, he saw the ghostly figure standing at the entrance, waving goodbye. The rain was no longer falling, and the cemetery had returned to its dark, silent slumber. From that night on, David was forever changed, haunted by the memory of the sinister passenger and the otherworldly encounter that had shattered his skepticism. The supernatural, he now knew, was all too real, lurking just beyond the veil of the ordinary, waiting to reveal itself in the most chilling and unexpected ways. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to become an official member of this channel. Just click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out. If you haven't already, smash that like button to show your support, and let us know you're enjoying the content.